Here's where we are. Phase 1, seeing the system, was composed of letters 1 to 12. That is complete. Phase 2, designing the system, letters 13 to 30, has several stages. Stage 1, entering design, letters 13A and 13B. That is complete. Stage 2, stabilizing the core, letters 14 to 17. We just completed letter 14, where design begins, decision, ownership. That is complete. Letter 15 is where we are now, when ownership exists, but authority does not. Letter 14 gave you a name. It gave you the name of the person authorized to make a specific class of decisions in your AI governance system. That was the first structural intervention of stage 2, and it was essential. But designating an authority creates a question the organization needs to answer before that authority can function. What happens when the decision is larger than the mandate? Every designated decision owner has a boundary, a scope of decisions they are sanctioned to make without escalation, without committee approval, without broader sign-off. Within that scope, they decide. Beyond it, something else happens. And if that something else has not been designed, the organization has not solved its governance challenge. It has relocated it. This scenario is called authority vacuum. Not the absence of a designated decision owner, but the absence of a defined threshold that tells the designated decision owner and everyone around them where their authority ends and what happens next. Authority vacuum announces itself in specific moments. A model governance decision reaches the point where financial exposure exceeds what the decision authority has been sanctioned to approve. They pause, they send an email, and they wait. The decision sits in an inbox for 11 days while an AI deployment stalls. No one escalated incorrectly. No one acted outside their mandate. The governance structure simply had no answer for this moment because no one had defined what this moment was. Or the reverse occurs. The designated decision owner makes the decision anyway because the organization is moving, because the pressure is real, because waiting feels worse than acting. They exceed their mandate not out of recklessness, but out of necessity. And when the decision is later scrutinized, there is no documentation, no approval trail, no record of who sanctioned what. The governance structure held until it mattered, and then it did not hold at all. Both situations trace to the same missing element: clear authority mandate. A clear authority mandate is the explicit definition of the conditions under which a designated decision owner's mandate ends and a defined escalation pathway begins. It is not a vague instruction to escalate when appropriate. It is a designed line, specific, documented, and communicated that answers 3 questions with precision. What triggers the defined threshold? What happens when it does? And who maintains it? What triggers the defined threshold? In AI governance, thresholds are typically defined by a combination of financial exposure, risk classification, regulatory implication, and strategic impact. A model deployment affecting fewer than 10,000 customers at low risk classification may sit within the designated decision owner's mandate. The same deployment at scale or involving sensitive data categories or touching a regulated product line crosses that threshold. The trigger is defined in terms the organization can apply consistently, not terms that invite judgment about whether a threshold has been reached. What happens when the threshold is crossed? This is the escalation design question. Who receives the escalation? In what form? Within what time frame? With what documentation? An undefined escalation pathway is not a pathway. It is a direction. Directions without destinations produce the inbox problem. The decision arrives somewhere, but no one knows who is responsible for it or when it needs to be resolved. Who confirms the threshold definition itself? Thresholds that are set once and never reviewed drift out of synchronization with organizational reality. A threshold is triggered when a model that was originally defined to govern 50,000 records now begins governing 5 million records. The threshold needs an owner, someone responsible for reviewing it as the AI system scope and risk profile evolves. The three questions mentioned earlier, what triggers the defined threshold, what happens when it does, and who maintains it, are the structural components of clear authority mandate. Together, they close the gap that authority vacuum opens. This is a precision that organizations consistently underestimate. In a well-functioning orchestra, the first chair of each section knows not only their part, but the exact moment their interpretive authority ends. They make every decision within their section, tone, phrasing, dynamics, without waiting for instruction. But at the moment the conductor signals a shift in tempo or a transition between movements, they do not decide. They listen. The threshold between their authority and the conductors is not ambiguous. It has been rehearsed. Both parties know it. That is what clear authority mandate builds in your governance system. Not hesitation, not bureaucracy, precision. So the designated decision owner can move with confidence within their mandate, and the organization can move with confidence when the mandate ends. The design task for this letter follows the same logic as letter 14, one level deeper. For each designated decision owner you identified, define the threshold, document the triggers, design the escalation pathway, assign the threshold owner, test it against the last three decisions that called for escalation in your organization, and ask, would this threshold have caught them? If not, it is not yet specific enough. Organizations that complete this work discover something that surprises them. The designated decision owners move faster, not slower, once the threshold is confirmed. When the boundary of a mandate is unclear, the designated decision owner hesitates at every decision that feels large. When the boundary is defined, they act within it without friction. The threshold is not a constraint on authority. It is what makes authority real. Everything that follows in stage 2 is stronger when every designated decision owner has a confirmed threshold beneath them. This is the second structural foundation. It does not complete the stage, but without it, nothing built above it will hold. Whether it is a symphony, a jazz ensemble, or a rock band, the principle holds. Every player has rehearsed the moment of transition. In a symphony, it is written into the score. In jazz, it is understood before the first note is played. In rock, the drummer's count brings every instrument in together. The moment one section finishes and another begins is never left to chance. The same principle holds across every industry and every organizational scale. Whether the organization is a 3-person team or a 300-person function, whether it operates in financial services or healthcare or technology. The genre changes, the discipline does not. A clear authority mandate is that same moment in your governance system. The trigger is defined, the pathway is known, the handoff executes because everyone has rehearsed it, not because someone decides in the moment what to do next. Your governance system needs that same clarity, not improvisation, a handoff. What you have built across letters 14 and 15 is the structural foundation of decision authority, a named owner and a defined threshold. That foundation is real. What the next letter reveals is this: a design can be built correctly and still be quietly undermined. Not from outside the system, from within it. The pattern addressed in this letter is authority vacuum, which resolves to clear authority mandate. In letter 16, we're going to be talking about designing authority that holds under pressure. The patterns in letter 16 are authority shattering, which resolves to mandate authority, governance theater, which resolves to governance integrity. Thank you.